a heat wave is a prolonged period of excessively hot weather, which may be accompanied by high humidity, especially in oceanic climate countries. While definitions vary, a heat wave is measured relative to the usual weather in the area and relative to normal temperatures for the season. Temperatures that people from a hotter climate consider normal can be termed a heat wave in a cooler area if they are outside the normal climate pattern for that area. The term is applied both to routine weather variations and to extraordinary spells of heat which may occur only once a century. Severe heat waves have caused catastrophic crop failures, thousands of deaths from hyperthermia, and widespread power outages due to increased use of air conditioning. A heat wave is considered extreme weather, and a danger because heat and sunlight may overheat the human body. Definitions: the definition recommended by the World Meteorological Organization is when the daily maximum temperature of more than 5 consecutive days exceeds the average maximum temperature by 5 degrees Celsius, the normal period being 1961 1990. Heat waves usually occur in September. A formal, peer-reviewed definition from the Glossary of Meteorology is, a period of abnormally and uncomfortably hot and usually humid weather. To be a heat wave, such a period should last at least one day, but conventionally it lasts from several days to several weeks. In 1900, A.T. Burrows more rigidly defined a hot wave as a spell of 3 or more days on each of which the maximum shade temperature reaches or exceeds 90 degree Fahrenheit. More realistically, the comfort criteria for any one region are dependent upon the normal conditions of that region. In the Netherlands, a heat wave is defined as a period of at least 5 consecutive days in which the maximum temperature in de Bilt exceeds 25 degrees Celsius, provided that on at least 3 days in this period the maximum temperature in de Bilt exceeds 30 degrees Celsius. This definition of a heat wave is also used in Belgium and Luxembourg. In Denmark, a national heat wave is defined as a period of at least 3 consecutive days of which period the average maximum temperature across more than 50% of the country exceeds 28 degrees Celsius. The Danish Meteorological Institute further defines a warmth wave, when the same criteria are met for a 25 degrees Celsius temperature, while in Sweden, a heat wave is defined as at least 5 days in a row with a daily high exceeding 25 degrees Celsius. In the United States, definitions also vary by region. However, a heat wave is usually defined as a period of at least 2 or more days of excessively hot weather. In the Northeast, a heat wave is typically defined as 3 consecutive days where the temperature reaches or exceeds 90 degree Fahrenheit, but not always, as this ties in with humidity levels to determine a heat index threshold. The same does not apply to drier climates. A heat storm is a Californian term for an extended heat wave. Heat storms occur when the temperature reaches 100 degree Fahrenheit for 3 or more consecutive days over a wide area. The National Weather Service issues heat advisories and excessive heat warnings when unusual periods of hot weather are expected. In Adelaide, South Australia, a heat wave is defined as 5 consecutive days at or above 35 degrees Celsius, or 3 consecutive days at or over 40 degrees Celsius. In England and Wales, the Met Office operates a heat health watch system which places each local authority region into one of 4 levels. Heatwave conditions are defined by the maximum daytime temperature and minimum nighttime temperature rising above the threshold for a particular region. The length of time spent above that threshold determines the particular level. Level 1 is normal summer conditions. Level 2 is reached when there is a 60% or higher risk that the temperature will be above the threshold levels for 2 days and the intervening night. Level 3 is triggered when the temperature has been above the threshold for the preceding day and night, and there is a 90% or higher chance that it will stay above the threshold in the following day. Level 4 is triggered if conditions are more severe than those of the preceding 3 levels. Each of the first 3 levels is associated with a particular state of readiness and response by the social and health services, and Level 4 is associated with more widespread response. How they occur. Heat waves form when high pressure aloft strengthens and remains over a region for several days up to several weeks. This is common in summer as the jet stream follows the sun. On the equator side of the jet stream, in the middle layers of the atmosphere, is the high-pressure area. Summertime weather patterns are generally slower to change than in winter. As a result, this mid-level high pressure also moves slowly. Under high pressure, the air subsides toward the surface. This sinking air acts as a dome capping the atmosphere. This cap helps to trap heat instead of allowing it to lift. Without the lift there is little or no convection and therefore little or no convective clouds with minimal chances for rain. The end result is a continual buildup of heat at the surface that we experience as a heat wave. In the eastern United States, a heat wave can occur when a high-pressure system originating in the Gulf of Mexico becomes stationary just off the Atlantic seaboard. Hot humid air masses form over the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea, while hot dry air masses form over the desert southwest and northern Mexico. The SW winds on the backside of the high continue to pump hot, humid Gulf air northeastward, resulting in a spell of hot and humid weather for much of the eastern states. In the Western Cape province of South Africa, a heat wave can occur when a low-pressure offshore and high-pressure inland combine to form a bergwind. The air warms as it descends from the Karoo interior, and the temperature will rise about 10 degrees Celsius from the interior to the coast. Humidities are usually very low, and the temperatures can be over 40 degrees Celsius in summer. The highest official temperatures recorded in South Africa was recorded one summer during a bergwind occurring along the Eastern Cape coastline. Global warming boosts the probability of extreme weather events, like heat waves, far more than it boosts more moderate events. Health effects. The heat index is a measure of how hot it feels when relative humidity is factored with the actual air temperature. Hyperthermia, also known as heat stroke, becomes commonplace during periods of sustained high temperature and humidity. Sweating is absent from 84–100% of those affected. Older adults, very young children, and those who are sick or overweight are at a higher risk for heat-related illness. The chronically ill and elderly are often taking prescription medications that interfere with the body's ability to dissipate heat. Heat edema presents as a transient swelling of the hands, feet, and ankles and is generally secondary to increased aldosterone secretion, which enhances water retention. When combined with peripheral vasodilation and venous stasis, the excess fluid accumulates in the dependent areas of the extremities. The heat edema usually resolves within several days after the patient becomes acclimated to the warmer environment. No treatment is required, although wearing support stocking and elevating the affected legs would help minimize the edema. Heat rash, also known as prickly heat, is a maculopapular rash accompanied by acute inflammation and blocked sweat ducts. The sweat ducts may become dilated and may eventually rupture, producing small pruritic vesicles on an erythematous base. Heat rash affects areas of the body covered by tight clothing. If this continues for a duration of time, it can lead to the development of chronic dermatitis or a secondary bacterial infection. Prevention is the best therapy. It is also advised to wear loose-fitting clothing in the heat. However, once heat rash has developed, the initial treatment involves the application of chlorhexidine lotion to remove any desquamated skin. The associated itching may be treated with topical or systemic antihistamines. If infection occurs, a regimen of antibiotics is required. Heat cramps are painful, often severe, involuntary spasms of the large muscle groups used in strenuous exercise. Heat cramps tend to occur after intense exertion. They usually develop in people performing heavy exercise while sweating profusely and replenishing fluid loss with non-electrolyte-containing water. This is believed to lead to hyponatremia that induces cramping in stressed muscles. Rehydration with salt-containing fluids provides rapid relief. Patients with mild cramps can be given oral 0.2% salt solutions, while those with severe cramps require 4 isotonic fluids. The many sport drinks on the market are a good source of electrolytes and are readily accessible. Heat syncope is related to heat exposure that produces orthostatic hypotension. This hypotension can precipitate a near syncopal episode. Heat syncope is believed to result from intense sweating, which leads to dehydration, followed by peripheral vasodilation and reduced venous blood return in the face of decreased vasomotor control. Management of heat syncope consists of cooling and rehydration of the patient using oral rehydration therapy or isotonic for fluids. People who experience heat syncope should avoid standing in the heat for long periods of time. They should move to a cooler environment and lie down if they recognize the initial symptoms. Wearing support stockings and engaging in deep knee-bending movements can help promote venous blood return. Heat exhaustion is considered by experts to be the forerunner of heat stroke. It may even resemble heat stroke, with the difference being that the neurologic function remains intact. Heat exhaustion is marked by excessive dehydration and electrolyte depletion. Symptoms may include diarrhea, headache, nausea and vomiting, dizziness, tachycardia, malaise, and myalgia. Definitive therapy includes removing patients from the heat and replenishing their fluids. Most patients will require fluid replacement with 4 isotonic fluids at first. The salt content is adjusted as necessary once the electrolyte levels are known. After discharge from the hospital, patients are instructed to rest, drink plenty of fluids for 2–3 hours, and avoid the heat for several days. If this advice is not followed, it may then lead to heat stroke. One public health measure taken during heat waves is the setting up of air-conditioned public cooling centers. Mortality: heat waves are the most lethal type of weather phenomenon, overall. Between 1992 and 2001, deaths from excessive heat in the United States numbered 2,190, compared with 880 deaths from floods and 150 from hurricanes. The average annual number of fatalities directly attributed to heat in the United States is about 400. The 1995 Chicago heat wave, one of the worst in U.S. history, led to approximately 600 heat-related deaths over a period of 5 days. Eric Klinenberg has noted that in the United States, the loss of human life in hot spells in summer exceeds that caused by all other weather events combined, including lightning, rain, floods, hurricanes, and tornadoes. Despite the dangers, Scott Sheridan, professor of geography at Kent State University, found that less than half of people 65 and older abide by heat emergency recommendations like drinking lots of water. In his study of heatwave behavior, focusing particularly on seniors in Philadelphia, Phoenix, Toronto, and Dayton, Ohio, he found that people over 65 don't consider themselves seniors. One of his older respondents said, "Heat doesn't bother me much, but I worry about my neighbors." According to the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, about 6,200 Americans are hospitalized each summer due to excessive heat, and those at highest risk are poor, uninsured or elderly. More than 70,000 Europeans died as a result of the 2003 European heat wave. Concern is now focusing on predicting the future likelihood of heat waves and their severity. In addition, because in most of the world most of those suffering the impacts of a heat wave will be inside a building, and this will modify the temperatures they are exposed to, there is the need to link climate models to building models. This means producing example time series of future weather. Other work has shown that future mortality due to heat waves could be reduced if buildings were better designed to modify the internal climate, or the occupants better educated about the issues, so they took action in time. Underreporting and harvesting effect: the number of heat fatalities is likely highly underreported due to lack of reports and misreports. Part of the mortality observed during a heat wave, however, can be attributed to a so-called harvesting effect, a term for a short-term forward mortality displacement. It has been observed that for some heat waves, there is a compensatory decrease in overall mortality during the subsequent weeks after a heat wave. Such compensatory reduction in mortality suggests that heat affects especially those so ill that they would have died in the short term anyway. Psychological and sociological effects: in addition to physical stress, excessive heat causes psychological stress, to a degree which affects performance, and is also associated with an increase in violent crime. Power outages: abnormally hot temperatures cause electricity demand to increase during the peak summertime hours of 4 to 7 p.m. when air conditioners are straining to overcome the heat. If a hot spell extends to 3 days or more, however, nighttime temperatures do not cool down, and the thermal mass in homes and buildings retains the heat from previous days. This heat buildup causes air conditioners to turn on earlier and to stay on later in the day. As a result, available electricity supplies are challenged during a higher, wider, peak electricity consumption period. Heat waves often lead to electricity spikes due to increased air conditioning use, which can create power outages, exacerbating the problem. During the 2006 North American heat wave, thousands of homes and businesses went without power, especially in California. In Los Angeles, electrical transformers failed, leaving thousands without power for as long as 5 days. The 2009 Southeastern Australia heatwave caused the city of Melbourne, Australia to experience some major power disruptions which left over 500,000 people without power as the heatwave blew transformers and overloaded a power grid. Wildfires: if a heatwave occurs during a drought, which dries out vegetation, it can contribute to bushfires and wildfires. During the disastrous heatwave that struck Europe in 2003, fires raged through Portugal, destroying over 3,010 square kilometers or 301,000 hectares of forest and 440 square kilometers or 44,000 hectares of agricultural land and causing an estimated $1 billion worth of damage. High-end farmlands have irrigation systems to back up crops with. Physical damage: heat waves can and do cause roads and highways to buckle and melt, water lines to burst, and power transformers to detonate, causing fires. See the 2006 North American heatwave article about heatwaves causing physical damage. In the 2013 heatwave in England, gritters were sent out to grit melting tarmac roads. History: 20th century, 1923 1924, during a period of 160 such days from October 31, 1923 to April 7, 1924, the Western Australian town of Marble Bar set a world record for the most consecutive days above 100 degree Fahrenheit. 1936, the 1936 North American heat wave during the Dust Bowl, followed one of the coldest winters on record. The 1936 North American cold wave. Massive heat waves across North America were persistent in the 1930s. Many mid-Atlantic Ohio Valley states recorded their highest temperatures during July 1934. The longest continuous string of 100 degree Fahrenheit or higher temperatures was reached for 101 days in Yuma, Arizona during 1937, and the highest temperatures ever reached in Canada were recorded in 2 locations in Saskatchewan in July 1937. 1950s, a prolonged severe drought and heat wave occurred in the early 1950s throughout the central and southern United States. In some areas it was drier than during the Dust Bowl, and the heat wave in most areas was within the top 5 on record. The heat was particularly severe in 1954 with 22 days of temperatures exceeding 100 degree Fahrenheit covering significant parts of 11 states. On July 14, the thermometer reached 117 degree Fahrenheit at East St. Louis, Illinois, which remains the record highest temperature for that state. 1972, the heat waves of 1972 in New York and northeastern United States were significant. Almost 900 people perished. The heat conditions lasted almost 16 days, aggravated by very high humidity levels. 1976, the 1976 United Kingdom heatwave was one of the hottest in living memory and was marked by constant blue skies from May until September, when dramatic thunderstorms signaled the heatwave's end. 1980, an estimated 10,000 people perished in the 1980 United States heatwave and drought, which impacted the central and eastern United States. Temperatures were highest in the southern plains. From June through September, temperatures remained above 90 degree Fahrenheit all but 2 days in Kansas City, Missouri. The Dallas-Fort Worth area experienced 42 consecutive days with high temperatures above 100 degree Fahrenheit, with temperatures reaching 117 degree Fahrenheit at Wichita Falls, Texas on June 28. Economic losses were $20 billion. 1983, during the summer of 1983, temperatures over 100 degree Fahrenheit were common across Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, Indiana, Ohio, Minnesota, Nebraska and certain parts of Kentucky. The summer of 1983 remains one of the hottest summers ever recorded in many of the states affected. The 100-degree readings were accompanied by very dry conditions associated with drought affecting the Corn Belt states and upper Midwest. The heat also affected the southeastern U.S. and the mid-Atlantic states as well that same summer. New York Times represented articles about the heat waves of 1983 affecting the central United States. 1988, intense heat spells in combination with the drought of 1988, reminiscent of the Dust Bowl years, caused deadly results across the United States. Some 5,000 to 10,000 people perished because of constant heat across the United States, although according to many estimates total death reports run as high as next to 17,000 deaths. 1995. The 1995 Chicago heatwave produced record-high dew point levels and heat indices in the Chicago area and Wisconsin. The lack of emergency cooling facilities and inadequate response from civic authorities to the senior population, particularly in lower-income neighborhoods in Chicago and other Midwest cities, led to many deaths. 1999, a heatwave and drought in the eastern United States during the summer of 1999. Rainfall shortages resulted in worst drought on record for Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, and Rhode Island. The state of West Virginia was declared a disaster area. 3,810,000 acres were consumed by fire as of mid-August. Record heat throughout the country resulted in 502 deaths nationwide. 2000, in late summer 2000, a heat wave occurred in the southern United States, breaking many cities' all-time maximum temperature records. 21st century. 2001 a 2009, in early August 2001 an intense heat wave hit the eastern seaboard of the United States and neighboring southeastern Canada. For over a week, temperatures climbed above 35 degrees Celsius combined with stifling high humidity. Newark, New Jersey tied its all-time record high temperature of 41 degrees Celsius with a heat index of over 50 degrees Celsius. In April 2002 a summer-like heatwave and spring affected much of the eastern United States. More than 46,000 people and perhaps in excess of 70,000 died in the European heatwave of 2003. Much of the heat was concentrated in France, where nearly 15,000 people died. In Portugal, the temperatures reached as high as 47 degrees Celsius in the south. The European heatwave of 2006 was the second massive heatwave to hit the continent in 4 years, with temperatures rising to 40 degrees Celsius in Paris. In Ireland, which is a moderate maritime climate, temperatures of over 32 degrees Celsius were reported. Temperatures of 35 degrees Celsius were reached in the Benelux and Germany, while Great Britain recorded 37 degrees Celsius. Many heat records were broken and many people who experienced the heat waves of 1976 and 2003 drew comparisons with them. Highest average July temperatures were recorded at many locations in Great Britain, Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden and Germany. The 2006 North American heat wave affected a wide area of the United States and parts of neighboring Canada during July and August 2006. Over 220 deaths were reported. Temperatures in some parts of South Dakota exceeded 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Also, California experienced temperatures that were extraordinarily high, with records ranging from 100 to 130 degrees Fahrenheit. On July 22, the county of Los Angeles recorded its highest temperature ever at 119 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity levels in California were also unusually high. Although low compared with normal Gulf Coast eastern seaboard summer humidity, they were significant enough to cause widespread discomfort. The European heatwave of 2007 affected primarily southeastern Europe during late June through August. Bulgaria experienced its hottest year on record, with previously unrecorded temperatures above 45 degrees Celsius. The 2007 Greek forest fires were associated with the heat wave. During the 2007 Asian heat wave, the Indian city of Desha experienced temperatures of 48 degrees Celsius. In January 2008, Alice Springs in Australia's Northern Territory recorded 10 consecutive days of temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius, with the average temperature for that month being 39.8 degrees Celsius. In March 2008, Adelaide, South Australia experienced maximum temperatures of above 35 degrees Celsius for 15 consecutive days, 7 days more than the previous longest stretch of 35 degrees Celsius days. The March 2008 heatwave also included 11 consecutive days above 38 degrees Celsius. The heatwave was especially notable because it occurred in March, an autumn month, in which Adelaide averages only 2.3 days above 35 degrees Celsius. The eastern United States experienced an early summer heatwave from June 10, 2008 with record temperatures. There was a heatwave in Southern California beginning late June, which contributed to widespread fires. On July 6, a renewed heatwave was forecast, which was expected to affect the entire state. In early 2009, Adelaide, South Australia was hit by a heatwave with temperatures reaching 40+ degrees Celsius for 6 days in a row, while many rural areas experienced temperatures hovering around about mid-40s degrees Celsius. Calcutta on the Eyre Peninsula endured at least one day at 48 degrees Celsius, with 46 and 47 being common in the hottest parts of the state. Melbourne, in neighbouring Victoria, recorded 3 consecutive days over 43 degrees Celsius, and also recorded its highest ever temperature 8 days later in a secondary heatwave, with the mercury peaking at 46.4 degrees Celsius. During this heatwave, Victoria suffered from large bushfires which claimed the lives of more than 210 people and destroyed more than 2,500 homes. There were also over 500,000 people without power as the heatwave blew transformers and the power grid was overloaded. In August 2009, Argentina experienced a period of unusual and exceptionally hot weather during August 30, during the Southern Hemisphere winter, just a month before spring, when an unusual and unrecorded winter heat wave hit the country. A shot of tropical heat drawn unusually far southward, high temperatures 22 degrees Celsius above normal in the city of Buenos Aires and across the northern center regions of the country. Several records were broken. Even though normal high temperatures for late August are in the lower 15 degrees Celsius, readings topped 30 degrees Celsius at midweek, then topped out above 32 degrees Celsius during the weekend. Temperatures hit 33.8 degrees Celsius on August 29 and finally 34.6 degrees Celsius on August 30 in Buenos Aires, making it the hottest day ever recorded in winter, breaking the 1996 winter record of 33.7 degrees Celsius. In the city of Santa Fe, 38.3 degrees Celsius on August 30 was registered, notwithstanding the normal high in the upper 15 degrees Celsius per 60 degree Fs. As per the Meteorological Office of Argentina, August 2009 has been the warmest month during winter since official measurements began. 2010 present. The Northern Hemisphere summer heatwave of 2010 affected many areas across the Northern Hemisphere, especially parts of northeastern China and European Russia. Starting in May 2010, records were being set. On May 26, at Mohenjo-Daro, Sindh province in Pakistan, a national record high temperature of 53.5 degrees Celsius occurred. In June 2010, Eastern Europe experienced very warm conditions. Ruse, Bulgaria hit 36.6 degrees Celsius on the 13th, making it the warmest spot in Europe. Other records broken on the 13th include Vidin, Bulgaria at 35.8 degrees Celsius, Sandanski, Bulgaria hitting 35.5 degrees Celsius, Lovech and Pazardzhik, Bulgaria at 35.1 degrees Celsius, as well as the capital, Sofia, hitting 33.3 degrees Celsius. The heat came from the Sahara Desert and was not associated with rain. This helped the situation with high water levels in that part of the continent. On the 14th, several cities were once again above the 35 degrees Celsius mark, even though they did not break records. The only cities in Bulgaria breaking records were Mzla Peak hitting 15.2 degrees Celsius and Elavo hitting 35.6 degrees Celsius. On the 15th, Ruse, Bulgaria peaked at 37.2 degrees Celsius. Although it was not a record, this was the highest temperature recorded in the country. 5 Bulgarian cities broke records that day. Artapol hit 28.6 degrees Celsius, Dobrik was 33.8 degrees Celsius, Karnabat hit 34 degrees Celsius, Sliven hit 35 degrees Celsius and Elavo recorded 36.1 degrees Celsius. From 4 to July 9, 2010, the majority of the American East Coast, from the Carolinas to Maine, was gripped in a severe heat wave. Philadelphia, New York, Baltimore, Washington, Raleigh, and even Boston eclipsed 100 degree Fahrenheit. Many records were broken, some of which dated back to the 19th century, including Wilmington, Delaware's temperature of 103 degree Fahrenheit on Wednesday 7 July, which broke the record of 97 degree Fahrenheit from 1897. Philadelphia and New York eclipsed 100 degree Fahrenheit for the first time since 2001. Frederick, Maryland, and Newark, New Jersey, among others topped the century mark for 4 days in a row. The 2011 North American heat wave brought record heat to the Midwestern United States, eastern Canada, and much of the eastern seaboard. A record-breaking heat wave hit southwestern Asia in late July and early August 2011, with temperatures in Iraq exceeding 120 degree Fahrenheit, and an asphalt melting, earth parching, brain-scrambling heat of midsummer in Tbilisi, Georgia. The Iraqis were further challenged by pressure to fast during Ramadan, despite heat of 124 degree Fahrenheit in Baghdad and 126 degree Fahrenheit in Derna on August 4. The extreme heat inspired conspiracy theories of the government corruption in Iraq and retaliation from the United States government. And, in Georgia, the apocalypse, mutant locusts caused by Chernobyl, snakes imported by unseen enemies, and sunspots. Most parts of the United Kingdom experienced an Indian summer between September and October 2011. The heatwave resulted in a new record high temperature for October at 30 degrees Celsius. In March 2012, one of the greatest heat waves was observed in many regions of North America. First, very warm air pushed northward west of the Great Lakes region, and subsequently spread eastward. This air mass movement was propelled by an unusually intense low-level southerly jet that stretched from Louisiana to western Wisconsin. Once this warm surge inundated the area, a remarkably prolonged period of record-setting temperatures ensued. NOAA's National Climate Data Center reported that over 7,000 daily record high temperatures were broken over the U.S. from March 1 through March 27. In some places the temperature exceeded 30 degrees Celsius with anomalies up to plus 22 degrees Celsius. Temperature records across much of southern Canada were also demolished. In March 2012, the United Kingdom experienced a heat wave with temperature anomalies of plus 10 degrees Celsius in many places. In late June 2012, much of North America began experiencing a heat wave, as heat spread east from the Rocky Mountains. During the heat wave, the June 2012 North American derecho caused violent storms that downed trees and power lines, leaving 3 million people in the eastern U.S. without power on June 30. The heat lasted until mid-August in some parts of the country. The Australian summer of 2012 to 2013, known as the Angry Summer or Extreme Summer, resulted in 123 weather records being broken over a 90-day period, including the hottest day ever recorded for Australia as a whole, the hottest January on record, the hottest summer average on record, and a record 7 days in a row when the whole continent averaged above 39 degrees Celsius. Single-day temperature records were broken in dozens of towns and cities, as well as single-day rainfall records, and several rivers flooded to new record highs. From December 28, 2012 through at least January 9, 2013, Australia has faced its most severe heat wave in over 80 years, with a large portion of the nation recording high temperature reading above 40 degrees to 45 degrees or greater in some areas. A couple spots have also neared 50 degrees Celsius. This extreme heat has also resulted in a flash drought across southern and central areas of the country and has sparked several massive wildfires due to periodic high winds. In late June 2013, an intense heat wave struck southwestern United States. Various places in Southern California reached up to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. On June 30, Death Valley, California hit 129.2 degrees Fahrenheit, which is the hottest temperature ever recorded on Earth during the month of June. It was 5 degrees shy of the world record highest temperature measured in Death Valley, which was 134 degrees Fahrenheit, recorded in July 1913. Around Canada Day 2013, the same heat wave that hit the southwestern United States moved north and hit southern British Columbia, Washington and Oregon. Temperatures in BC hit 40 degrees Celsius in Lytton on July 1, 2013, and on July 2, 2013, the city of Penticton hit 38 degrees Celsius, with both Summerland and Oshawott hitting the same. The Tri-Cities in Washington were among the hottest, with temperatures around 110 degrees Fahrenheit. In China from July to August 2013, the South continued to experience an unusually severe heat wave with exceptionally high temperatures. In multiple regions of Zhejiang, Chongqing, Shanghai, Hunan and other areas the temperatures soared to over 40 degrees Celsius and lasted for a long time. Xinjiang and Zhejiang endured extreme hot weather of 44.1 Florin. On August 8 Ningbo reached a new all-time record high temperature of 43.5 Florin. Changsha, Hunan in July 2013 achieved a high-temperature Grand Slam. All 31 days in July set a new daily record high temperature of over 40 Florin. Hangzhou experienced 56 consecutive days over 40 Florin while Shanghai shattered 140 years of meteorological records to set a new all-time record high temperature of 40.8 Florin. Sustained high temperatures caused many people, especially the elderly, to get heat stroke or sunstroke, seriously affecting millions of lives. Many areas throughout China endured record-high temperatures resulting in multiple continuous meteorological department-issued high-temperature orange or red alerts. 2013 saw a wide range of abnormally hot temperatures not seen for the past 60 years of national meteorological records dating back to 1951. In July 2013, the United Kingdom experienced the warmest July since 2006. See also, cold wave, heat burst, list of severe weather phenomena, urban heat island, notes. Heat dome seals in sweltering temperatures, Klinenberg, Eric. Heat wave, a social autopsy of disaster in Chicago. Chicago, University of Chicago Press. ISBN A0-226-44321-3 External links, FEMA, Extreme Heat, Hot Weather Tips, Social and Economic Costs of Temperature Extremes from NOAA Socioeconomics Website Initiative, Study, Global Warming to Bring Increased Heat Waves to U.S. A Euro-video report by Democracy Now! Wu, Z.Y. AL heatwave frequency variability over North America, two distinct leading modes. J. Geophys. Res 117. Bibcode, 2012 JGRD 117021002 doi, 10.1029/2011 JD016908. Global warming makes heat waves more likely. Study finds July 10, 2012 NYT, regarding effects of global warming. The maths behind the heat wave.